Welcome to Packed House. My name is Ben, and this is going to be a new segment that we're working on called Block Party. With me is my good friend Craig.
Yay!
Who's from the channel WhoEvenAmI. Quick backstory, so Craig and I have actually been best friends for about 12 years now?
Yeah.
Somewhere around that?
Yeah.
And Craig has his own YouTube channel, as I said, WhoEvenAmI. Craig, tell us a little bit more about the channel.
Sure. So it's about self-care and emotional health. Basically, sort of like they have, YouTube channels that talk about physical fitness and things like that. I'm dealing more with your mental fitness.
Sure.
A way to put that. But basically just about self-awareness and topics that I think are helpful in building a stronger sense of self.
Gotcha. And you release content every Tuesday?
Yes.
Correct. Cool. And every once in a while, Craig will also throw in a little poetic short story narrative pieces that are really interesting. I'm actually going to put some of those in the description.
Oh, thanks.
So that way people can just check down there.
Yeah. I call it Sometimes I Try Really Hard.
But cool. Okay, so you are a gamer. You grew up playing games.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're more of a casual gamer?
Yeah, I definitely have slipped into the casual gamer pocket. I grew up I had every single gaming console up into the Xbox.
Okay.
Pretty much more into the RPG world of things. And then went into more platforming, and now I'm very lightly touching into gaming.
I gotcha. So what are you playing anything right now?
Yeah, I'm super into a mobile game called Summoner's War that I play more than I should. And I'm also into Final Fantasy 15 right now, which is great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I actually just finished 15.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
It's really awesome.
Good. There's things that I wish I could change, but
yeah.
So then, okay, so you play a lot of mobile games, or you play Summoner War. Summoner War?
Summoner's War, yeah.
Summoner's War, okay. So you play a lot of mobile games, Summoner's War as an example. How often do you believe that you play a week?
I mean, the thing with that game is it plays on its own. So it kind of autoplays, so I technically, if you talk about it, I play pretty much most of the day, but I'm not actually actively doing things on it.
So then actively doing things?
A few hours that
Couple
I'm
of hours,
really
a
paying attention to it. Or a day.
A day?
Yeah.
Okay. So then with a couple of hours a day, do you feel that there's a threshold of too much?
I mean, currently I feel like I'm pretty balanced. There is a too much. I was super into Final Fantasy 11, which is an online massive multiplayer MMO game. And I think when I finished playing that game, my logged time into the system was 192 days of my life, which I'm sorry, internet. So yeah, I definitely invested way too much of my life into that. And then you and I actually became friends through WoW.
We did.
Which I was pretty much equally obsessed with for a few years.
We played WoW for 2 years together.
Yeah.
And that's actually really how we bonded.
Yeah, because I didn't like you before.
Before WoW, you actually hated me. And I would have hated me too. But yeah, so we did bond over WoW.
Yes.
You used to obsess, but now you kind of go back a little bit.
Yep.
Pulled back a little bit. Okay, so then going into the topic of the video is about video games and how they can actually affect mental health, either positively or negatively. So I actually do have a question.
Okay.
Different topics I would like to bring up. The first one, in 2011, the American Academy of Pediatrics stated that video gaming can lead to mental health problems after a 2-year study of 3,000 children. They assessed that weekly amount of gaming can lead to impulsiveness, social competence, depression, social phobia, and anxiety. Do you feel that gaming is to blame for these mental health problems that they didn't cause, that they didn't cause but helped bring light to these problems, or that these mental health issues have nothing to do with gaming?
Well, one, I'd like to say I'm not an expert in anything. I just have my own opinions.
Sure,
but speaking as just what I would view, video gaming is a really powerful stimulus. It's something that's very immersive, and it activates a lot of parts of the brain. And it's also actually still pretty relatively new in terms of what we know about psychology and how the human brain works. So I think that's kind of an iffy thing right now. But I think more than anything, because it's so powerful, if you let a child sit with it and use that stimulus for a long period of time, it's definitely going to form new habits and affect the way that they're doing things. So I could see if there isn't any moderation there, it could definitely be doing that. But I think that's the problem. The problem is not moderating it and not stepping away, more so than the actual source.
So you're talking about moderation. Who would be the moderator in this instance? So you have children who are playing these games. Does it fall on the parents?
Caretaker, yeah. I mean, the child can't be responsible for themselves you know, until you give them that agency. So
sure,
yeah.
So do you feel that the caretakers monitoring them, watching the content that they're playing, how much they're playing, who they're playing with, that could actually also impact a study such as this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I wouldn't think that type of issue, like a kid having social phobia or something, wouldn't be happening if there was someone stepping inside and saying, hey, we need to go do something else now. Like, step away from the video gaming and let's go play outside or do something else. Creating other healthy habits. Yeah.
I got you. So then, on the other side of the coin, some studies show that video games can help with mental health. Instances like puzzles helping lower stress and anxiety, using games to help present struggles such as depression, games such as Depression Quest, a choose-your-own-adventure game that lets you walk through the life of a depressed person, and story-driven adventures that help in the same way as reading a book. Do you feel that gaming can be used in a positive light and help improve mental health?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, it's a powerful stimulus. It's a vehicle that we can use to share stories and to express things to people. And because it's so immersive and there's actual choice going into it, I definitely think that there's a way to show that to people and to put it, like, literally forces you to step into someone else's shoes while you're making those choices. So I think that can be a very effective tool in kind of that practice of empathy, moving outside of yourself into someone else's viewpoint and working through their problems. So yeah, I think that's super.
So you mentioned empathy. Are there other aspects? Are there other aspects that somebody can learn from video games?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't thought about that too much. I definitely think I come across a lot of ethical questions that I don't in my daily life with video games, because you're often put into, like, really high
stress situations.
Yeah, and so that's not something that I'm doing in my daily life. So I do think that it kind of puts me up against, like, a moral wall, which is really interesting to deal with sometimes.
Definitely. And another thing that you and I talked about was critical thinking. That video games being put in these situations and these moral dilemmas will make you actually think, like, do I want to, such as in Mass Effect, do I want to save this one person or doom this entire race?
Right. Yeah, that problem solving. I definitely think it's a practice in that. It activates that part of your thinking, which, you know, when you do things more, it's kind of like muscle memory in your brain. The more times you think a specific way, it creates neural pathways, and so it's easier to access those in future places. So.
Definitely. So, actually, many people believe there's a link between violent, mature video games and a violence in a young child or young adult, and the violence that they commit. Do you believe that there's a link?
I would think no. I kind of view it in the terms of, if there is a problem with a person where they are going to be predisposed towards violence, being exposed to it in any type of medium is going to spark their curiosity and drive them down that pathway. And I wouldn't think that would happen unless there's something in that person's psyche already that makes them want to go towards that.
I'm with you. So if there is a link, though, do you believe that it's the developers of the game's fault? Would you think that it was the caretakers, like, for them to be exposed to it and be linked to these violent acts?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really place. You can't
place blame.
Right, you can't really place blame there. And it's also like, I don't know how to word that. It's not. it's no one's fault, really. I mean, you can't completely limit the stimulus on that child or person who is going to be going through that. You never know what's going to push somebody towards something. So it's really just being mindful and paying attention to those things.
Have you personally had any issues with gaming? Have you ever took a step back and thought, I need to cut back on this a little bit? Or on the other side, have you thought of, this is actually really helping me, like I need to get more of this?
Yeah, so I would say, like I mentioned before with the online gaming, I got into Final Fantasy XI in high school, and it was actually, it did become problematic. I didn't want to be social. I had a really hard time motivating myself to follow through with my responsibilities with school and stuff. But on the same hand, with MMOs, I've actually found that dealing with people through that medium helped me learn how to ask for help better. 'Cause it's something I struggle with in general. But it kind of broke down that action in a way that helped me learn how to do it in my real life, because it was a low risk situation, you know, in a video game, you kind of feel a little bit of a detachment. But the practice of actually doing it followed through to making it a little bit easier in real life. So there was kind of a hardship and a little bit of a benefit that I got from it.
I got you. So speaking of MMOs, do you believe that MMOs such as World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 11, or 14, EverQuest, do you believe that they help improve player social skills and team skills? Do you feel that MMOs can be used as social experiments?
I guess you could point them that way. I don't really feel like that's their intention, and so it'd be hard to measure any kind of effectiveness that's actually happening. But that doesn't also mean that you can't take away some value in that. There's definitely a lot of team aspect going on, and especially with like guilds and stuff, you get a social group of people who actually enjoy playing together frequently. So there's actually more of like a tribal sense, like, you know, original human behavior of people grouping together to get things done. So it's there. I don't know how much I feel like that's like the intention. I feel like if there was one developed for that, it could be very interesting.
Sure. The reason why I was thinking about that question was because a few years ago in World of Warcraft, they introduced a new dungeon, and something glitched in the game where the boss was supposed to let out this poison, and that whenever people would get, like if you got close to me and I had this poison, then you would get it.
Okay.
And somehow they glitched out and they went back to one of the main hubs, and the person had the poison still. And it spread to all the players, it spread to all the NPCs, and it was
That's
epidemic.
So interesting. Like biological warfare in a video game.
And they actually used that instance just to study how disease spreads and how fast and how quick and how devastating it could be and things like that. So I was trying to think of what other things can they learn from MMOs, such as nobody would have ever thought of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's super interesting. I guess the only kind of limitation you come is like how much can you say is a person's behavior in game going to mirror their behavior in real life? Because we're going to have different assumptions of like what's expected of us and what is okay, like risk level. Yeah, but it's super interesting.
And it's funny that you mentioned that too, because I'm watching a TV series right now called Westworld.
Yeah.
And one of the lines of dialogue in there is that the game actually brings out people's true selves.
Okay.
That people can be who they want to be. If they want to go ahead and shoot somebody on the street, they can go ahead and shoot somebody on the street. And it doesn't make people such as like Grand Theft Auto. Like it brings out somebody's true self. Maybe not Grand Theft Auto.
Right. I mean,
but you know what I mean?
I hear that argument a lot, that like, but I just don't think we really should be defining ourselves by like your deepest desires. Like just because that's inside of you, that doesn't mean it's who you are. There's a big culture of repression in America. Like you shouldn't feel that way, but you have to give yourself access to feel the things that you want to feel and be able to say, I feel this, I'm not going to act on that. So like, yeah, I might get angry and want to punch that person, but it's not going to benefit me or serve me in any way. So I'm not going to act on that. But that doesn't mean my truest self is a bully who just wants to punch people.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a good point. That's a very good point. So that's actually going to be it for our first segment of Block Party. Thank you very much, Craig, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed. What do you think? What's your opinions on mental health in video games? Talk to us in the comments. We will respond. I'll get Craig to even respond from his own channel, which you should really check out. It's really awesome. New videos every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Again, thank you so much. My name is Ben.
My name is Craig.
This is Packed House, and we'll see you on the next one.